Bring in Reggie Miller, the Hall of Famer. I'm curious, Reg, what you thought of the so-called janky defense that Toronto was playing with the box and one on Steph Curry.
I actually thought it was pretty brilliant, to tell you the truth, because it really stifled and surprised Steve Kerr and the Warriors. And with the injuries mounting for Golden State and really having one legitimate shooter, not necessarily player because Boogie was on the floor, but one legitimate shooter on the floor, why not? And it surprised Golden State. And the problem was Toronto couldn't make shots at the other end.
Yeah.
So their defense was pretty good in that box and one. They just couldn't score at the other end. So if I'm both teams, I'm pretty happy about Game 2 for the Warriors to be able to split, recapture home court advantage. Being shorthanded, going back to the Bay 1-1, I'm happy. If I'm Toronto, I'm saying to myself, we were up big early. We couldn't make shots. Our defense was as good as it's been throughout these playoffs. We've got to find ways to make shots. So I think they're feeling pretty good come Wednesday in Game 3. Obviously, with the scene changing, I think the big question mark is going to be who's going to be available and at what strength. I mean, the injuries are mounting, and it's going to be something that Steve Kerr is going to have to really do a good job. I mean, people keep talking about the Warriors bench or non-existent bench. I think they were pretty good down the stretch.
And Boogie Cousins, to do what he did after that kind of layoff was really impressive. I'm curious how he feels today after being out there in a game as opposed to in a practice, and how effective he'll be on Wednesday, because it'll be all hands on deck. If you don't have KD, I don't know how healthy Clay is going to be. An MRI this morning, but at least you're at home. And, Golden State will still be favored. I think they're favored by like 6 or 7 points going back home.
And throw in Kevon Looney with the shoulder injury as well. So it's interesting. You talk about the injuries and all hands on deck. Boogie Cousins, this is his chance to shine. And for a guy that's never been to the playoffs and to be on the biggest stage and have that type of performance with as long as layover and the injuries, think about the injuries he's coming back from. I mean, these are significant injuries, and to have a fingerprint and to have a say in that game was remarkable. But, again, if I'm Toronto, I'm feeling pretty good. I really am. I'm not saying that they're going to go into the Bay Area and probably steal one, but they've got to make shots. They have to make shots. And I know as a shooter, I've never really had a hamstring injury. So if you're Clay, he's saying he's okay, but it affects your movement, your rhythm, and as much as Clay plays off the basketball and as much running as he does throughout the game, that hamstring is going to be tested.
How do you explain the third quarter for the Warriors, and in particular Steph Curry? That's his best quarter of all 4 quarters. He averages 9 points per third quarter in every game. But is it just a coincidence that Golden State seems to adjust and come out, and that third quarter is just like a tidal wave?
No, I think if you go back and you look at the statistics, the third quarter has always been the Warriors' quarters. It's almost like they take 2 quarters to kind of figure you out, and then they come with the overhand right in the third quarter. So that if you go back and you look at, third quarters are probably the best, probably along with Houston. I just think it takes them a while to figure it out. And to go on an 18-0 run to start the third in the NBA Finals, that's pretty significant. And I think it caught Toronto on their heels. But, again, it was still a one-possession game before Iguodala knocked down that big three. So as well as they played in the third quarter, Toronto was hanging around.
Talking to Reggie Miller, NBA on TNT analyst, of course, Hall of Famer. With the Rockets maybe cleaning house here, and, do you keep James Harden and build around him? Do you keep Mike D'Antoni and continue to have that system here? My thought with the Rockets, I don't know how you feel, is I'd sort of like to see where Kawhi ends up. I'd like to see what happens with Golden State before I start to make these wholesale changes. But if I think the Lakers would take Chris Paul off my hands and they would offer up Lonzo Ball and maybe the 4th pick overall, and I'd jump on that if I'm Houston. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, I would do that. You get a chance to get younger. You will be obviously picking, this is a pretty good draft. The 4th draft pick would be pretty significant. Again, you get younger. I agree with waiting to see where the chips are going to fall come, June 30th, July 1st, where everyone's thinking about going. But if you think about this, them not re-signing or extending Mike D'Antoni, it's almost like they're writing on the wall that this system is not for us anymore. It's high octane. We score a lot of points. It's good to watch during the regular season. Come playoffs, as we know, it doesn't translate. So for them not to extend Mike D'Antoni, let's not forget he was Coach of the Year last season.
Yeah.
Coach of the Year.
But can you win with James Harden?
I believe you can, because if you look at how the rules are today, you've got to have someone who could put the ball in the basket. He can certainly do that. He has done a great job when they were shorthanded, when Chris Paul was out last year, and he went on that 30-point barrage for about a month straight and got them back into the top 4 at one point. Yeah, you got to have a guy that can score the basketball. I just think he needs to be surrounded by better players. To me, that system just is not getting it done during the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what they do, and if, Chris Paul making that kind of money, and if I can clear that salary cap, and then maybe I can get a free agent to come to town. I just don't know. If you're a free agent, would you rather play with James Harden or LeBron James?
I would probably say, wow, that's a tough one, because there are so many expectations with playing with the Lakers now, and not knowing what's going on in the hierarchy of that front office. To me, that's a tornado. You just don't know. But how many years left does LeBron have at that level? And I know he's signed for 3 more years, but you got, how old is Harden? 30?
Yeah, just turning 30, I think.
I'd probably have to say James Harden because he's younger. There's so much turmoil with the Lakers right now. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that organization. I really don't.
I don't know if they know what's going on there either, but, I think they're both difficult players to play with, because there's a lot that goes with playing with LeBron and his team, and being nervous if you don't pass him. Sort of like when guys played with Jordan. You had to know what to do, when to do it, and make sure you didn't disappoint Mike. And then you got Harden, who is going to do all those ISOs. And there's no ball movement whatsoever. And you sort of have to go, you threw it to me. Oh, okay. It would be difficult to play with both of those players, as great as they are.
I would kind of love to see James Harden in like a Golden State system where the ball moves, clicks. There's a lot of ball movement. He's running off, single doubles, motion action, quick hitters.
But why don't they do that, Reg?
Well, not everyone has the personnel.
But they've got some shooters. They
got standstill corner 3 shooters.
Yeah.
They don't have Klay Thompson type shooters. They don't have Kevin Durant take you off the dribble type shooters and scorers.
Yeah.
The guys, their personnel is run to the short corner 3, dribble isolation, and when the defense collapses and I have 5 guys on me, then I'll kick it to you. I kind of want to see him in a more free-flowing offense, but there's not a lot of coaches that do. I mean, I kind of like to see him in the San Antonio office with Greg Popovich. Free-flowing. Everyone touches the basketball.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that the rest of James Harden's career, where it's a free-flowing offense there.
Well, it depends on the coach as well.
Yeah,
Maybe Mike D'Antoni comes back next year and they change the script. But again, this is just not Mike D'Antoni, because remember, they like those analytics. This is Daryl Morey as well, right? So this is your general manager / president who has this ideology as well. So
we had a poll question last week. If I said you could know one team's roster for next season, the start of next season, you could know that roster right now, which team would you want to know what their roster was going to be? And only that one team.
I would probably want to know. There's a lot of questions that coming out of Golden State. Will KD stay? Will Clay stay? What are they going to do with Boogie Cousins? I would kind of want to know what Golden State's going to do, because it could be a new-look Golden State team with just Steph there, really, or it could be a team, if they find a way to three-peat, it could be a team that says, all right, we're all going to be back in maybe for short-term contracts to see if we can go for 4 in a row. What showed me, and people don't understand this, after the game, when KD and Clay were outside the locker room greeting the guys as they were coming in, and they kind of got into that back and forth with Drake, people don't understand the camaraderie that players have with one another, because people want to signal out KD, he's not all in. That little clip of those guys out there waiting, both injured, both hurt. Clay had ice on his hamstring, and they're outside the locker room, and they're dapping up everyone. It's those little clips. When I take away from that, these guys, they care for one another. They're all in for one another. And I don't think they're listening to the white noise of all of us saying, oh, KD's he's on his way to New York. I think KD is more in than we think he's in with Golden State. I really do, just by looking at that little clip. Could
you see Kawhi and KD take one-year deals?
I could. I really could. Not so much Kawhi, because I think Kawhi has been so non-committal to Toronto, but he is the king of the North now. But I just can't see it to have all these players in the West. I mean, right now you would only have Giannis, really, out east. You got to have some stars in the Eastern Conference. But I could see KD taking a one-year deal if Golden State finds a way to three-peat and them trying to go for a four-peat.
And I bring this up. Let's say Golden State does win another title, but KD doesn't win the title. He's not on the floor with them. Does that have any impact? I know we like to look at resume and legacy. Is that held against him in some way?
No. Oh, absolutely not. Because up until that point of that injury, we were saying he was the best player in the playoffs at that time, correct? Him and maybe Kawhi? Up until that point, up until that injury, KD was the best player in the playoffs. It wasn't even a question. So even if Golden State three-peats and he has a small hand in it, that counts. No, absolutely not. It's not like he missed, half the season. No. Just like Boogie Cousins, him coming back, this is significant for him and going forward. I mean, because if I'm an organization and I'm looking at Boogie Cousins, because people always want to talk about his attitude, think about the mental toughness it has taken for him to come back from 2 significant injuries just to compete. He just wants to be on the floor to help his teammates. If I'm a general manager, a president, an owner, I kind of want guys like that. I want guys like that are willing. I don't want to beg a guy to go out and play hard. I want guys that have it from within. Boogie has it from within.
But also, I'm trying to figure out, he wants to get paid. And Boogie's not going to get paid in Golden State, which means he's going to be available for somebody. I don't know if somebody has seen enough out of him that they would go, okay, because if you're bringing him in, you're going to have to spend some money on Boogie Cousins.
I don't know if you can open up the bank. I could also see him on a one-year deal, it's almost like a free show for a year to see how he holds up, how his body holds up.
With Golden State.
With Golden State. But you're right. There is going to be a team. See, there's also teams, too, that will just throw money to break up your team as well. So there could be a team that offers him a 3-year deal at $60 million.
Do you think the Lakers are going to be interested in Boogie Cousins?
They could.
But does that fit the style? I don't know what their style is. I thought their style was surround LeBron with shooters, and they didn't do that.
Well, we got to see how Frank Vogel, / LeBron James, since he will be the de facto coach here.
/ Jason Kidd.
/ Jason Kidd,
Yeah.
correct. So we don't know what style are they going to play? Who knows?
The Rambuses and the Buses, and there's a lot of head coaches.
There's a lot of head coaches there.
You know what? I would just call him Frank LeVogel. For LeBron, or just call him one name.
Stop it! Oh, you're not right.
LeVogel.
Actually, I do kind of like that. LeVogel.
Yeah, LeVogel.
LeVogel.
Who's the head coach of the Lakers? LeVogel.
LeVogel.
Yeah. Instead of the logo, it's just LeVogel.
LeVogel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you want to play with the Lakers right now? If you were, let's say, 30 years of age?
No.
Who would you want to play for? Let's say you're Kawhi.
I would play for Doc Rivers and the Clippers. I would play for Greg Popovich and the Spurs. I would play for Nick Nurse in Toronto. I would play for Mike Budenholzer and the Milwaukee Bucks. Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors. And I would probably play for Monty Williams and the Phoenix Suns.
All right. At age 50, though, who do you want to play for?
I would say Houston, because all I have to do is run to that short corner three, and I don't have to play any D at the other end. So at 53, Houston is my team.
Yeah. I know you got to run. Hey, thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
You're the best, Theodore.
Thank you, bud. That's Reggie Aloysius Miller Jr. III, Hall of Famer, Turner Sports NBA analyst.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.